And then we can, as far as getting this guy going, do I have any weird hair sticking up?
All right, you're live.
Oh.
All right, is that good on the YouTube one?
Yeah, I think so.
You start this one?
I need to figure out how to tune in here.
We on YouTube?
We're on your channel, on the
Okay.
Impact Water channel.
Okay.
Good morning, everybody. How
Hey,
are
good
you?
morning.
Welcome to the Chris and Beck Show. How are
Uh-huh.
you this morning? How are you?
I am good. I am ready.
Yeah?
I am ready for today's show.
It's going to be a good one.
It's a great one today.
Yeah. It's really good information.
These glasses look like they're sunglasses.
They do.
But they're not
They
sunglasses.
do.
They're glasses.
They do look tinted though.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we're going to talk about water treatment facilities, what that means, what does that mean for our water supply, and try to get some information to you guys about that. If you have questions for us, just drop it in the comments and we'll try to address that as best as possible.
Absolutely.
So we're trying to see if we can get tuned in on one more piece of equipment so we can sort of monitor questions a little bit more easily. So anyway, let's talk about your weekend. How was your weekend?
So my weekend was exciting.
Yeah?
My weekend was very exciting.
What'd you guys do?
My son. Okay.
Sorry.
You doing?
I'm sorry. I gotta get that fixed.
Yeah. Okay. You doing?
I'm sorry.
weekend.
Okay, there we go. All right.
All right. So my weekend was fantastic. I got an opportunity to spend time with my stepson, and
I met him. He's really sweet.
He's
funny.
It was his birthday.
Oh,
Yeah,
nice.
it was his birthday, and just fantastic. Totally fantastic. I really enjoyed him. He had much fun. We went to the pool. His mom set up everything with her friend, and he was just ecstatic.
I bet he had like a grin from ear to ear.
The whole time he had a great time. Beck, I tell you, he had a great time.
Good.
He really did, and so now he is getting older. He's 17 years old.
Wow.
Yeah, he's 17. So
what's in for his future? Does he have a plan yet?
I think he's a free spirit guy. He's like me, just free spirit, go with the flow.
Just gonna wing it.
Yeah, he's gonna wing it. Just go with the flow. And but he's just enjoying his life.
Yeah. And did Sis have a good time too?
Yeah, absolutely. So.
Well, guess what we did?
What'd you do?
We went rock hounding.
Tell the audience what is rock hounding.
Rock hounding. So what we do is we like to look for, we're hopefully going to find a gemstone, but really we're just looking for interesting rocks. We have a rock and cactus garden in our backyard. Mm-hmm. And so we just look for color and shapes and things that might add interest and depth to our little garden that we've got going in back. And then we do a little research on the rocks that we find, figure out what they are. And it's just
rock hounding.
Yeah, rock hounding.
So
I have to tell you. So
go ahead.
we found this little gulch, and we kind of climb. You want to go where there's water that's been run off, because then you can see things that are recently uncovered by water. Mm-hmm. And so we went down in this little gully, and I'm coming up behind my husband, and he goes, hey, and he stops, and I go, what? And he points. And if he would have walked like another 10 or 12 feet, he'd have stepped right on a rattlesnake.
Ooh, really?
Yep.
That's not good.
Yeah, he didn't rattle at us or anything, so there was no warning.
Wow.
So he goes, let's just back away. And I'm like, all right, we're backing.
He didn't make that how you make a rattle with a snake.
He didn't rattle or anything. And so we were like, apparently he wasn't feeling, or she was not feeling threatened, because he didn't rattle at us or anything.
Okay.
So we just kind of went back up the hill and said, okay. And so for the whole rest of the day, while I was looking for rocks and making sure I didn't step on a snake, my husband was looking for snakes.
Why was he looking for snakes?
He's enthralled with animals.
He
loves all animals.
Beck, sometimes certain cultures, they go deep in the ocean. They go up to the moon. You guys, just some cultures love to explore.
That's us.
Yeah.
That's us. If we found a hole or a cave in the side of the mountain, we're probably
Right,
gonna go in.
right. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, we're adventurous like that.
But that's all
But
good.
sometimes you can, if you find like an old prairie house or
Yeah.
something, you can find artifacts from back in the
Oh,
day,
okay.
like back in the 1800s and stuff.
Okay.
So you never know what you're gonna find when
Never
you're out
know.
there.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Wow.
Anyway, so that
But
was our big adventure for the weekend.
that was your big. Awesome.
Yep.
Awesome.
Yep.
Well, welcome guys again to the Chris and Beck TV show every Tuesday morning, Mountain Standard Time
Yep.
at 10 a.m.
Yep.
So if you're in the East Coast, you're 2 hours ahead. If you're on the West Coast, you're an hour away.
That's
right.
right.
All
Yep.
right. So definitely check
So
us
get
out.
your coffee.
Yeah, get your coffee. Oh,
Get a
yeah.
snack.
Beck.
Cheers.
Cheers to you.
Yep.
So once again, we also have the Chris and Beck coffee cups. That's online under impactwaterllc.com. Get yours. You'll be the number third one
Yep.
that'll have it. Who'll be the first one to have the Chris and Beck
Oh, I know,
coffee
that'd
cup?
be cool.
All right.
And check this out.
Oh, a new poster is up. The Chris and Beck TV show poster.
Yep, we're listening to the comments that we
Yeah,
make.
absolutely.
While we are sponsored by Impact Water,
Yeah.
and we do love Impact Water, we are actually the Chris and Beck Show.
We're the Chris and Beck show.
There you go.
Absolutely.
Cheers.
What'd you make today? What was this?
Today is raspberry.
Raspberry?
Cream.
That is good.
You like the raspberry?
I like the raspberry.
It's good, huh?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
good. It's
Yeah.
really good.
All right, so the big question is, what happens when we flush the toilet to the water? Or what happens to
Right.
the water when it leaves
So,
our house?
Yes, today talk is about the water treatment plant and what does that look like? So this might be a 2-episode talk.
Might be.
Okay,
That's some pretty interesting information.
We had, yeah.
So I was kind of curious. So you had mentioned that when, like a couple of shows ago, you said that when water leaves our house, that it can come back to our house in about 3 days, that same water.
Yeah, about 3 days. Well, I mean, not necessarily just that same water, but the principle
process, yeah.
of it is in increments in 3 days.
Yeah.
So
And so when we put stuff down the drain, I thought maybe it'd be a good idea to maybe talk about, well, what happens once it leaves our house?
right, and there's a lot of things that, as a nation, that we do put down the drain that we should not put down the drain. Because I believe in there's a cause and effect, and when you do stuff like that, it's gonna come back.
Right. And
So,
you and I were talking about that. So we're not just talking about your cleaning, your soaps and things like that, but
right,
medications. A lot of people dispose of their medications by flushing them down the toilet or putting them down the drain.
right.
And that's not a good idea, guys,
No,
because our water treatment facilities are not geared to deal with those drugs.
right,
They're not. They
They're
can deal with
not.
a lot of stuff, but
Yeah.
not so much on that. Some of it they can, from what I read.
right.
But some of it does actually eke through the system. So
Yeah.
we want to avoid adding
Yeah.
that.
Beck, I really like your new hairstyle.
Do you?
Yeah, it looks really good. Yeah, I do. New color,
Thank
new
you.
hairstyle.
Yeah.
All right, Beck.
I was telling him that I've been trying to be platinum for a long time.
Yeah.
They kept getting these funky colors
Yeah.
like orange and
And-
straw
yeah.
yellow and stuff.
And the
It's
green pops the eyes
Oh,
out. So
like, thanks.
Yeah.
Well, anyway,
yeah.
thank you.
So but anyway, so we're gonna dive in, join in, share this broadcast with your friends and family, because we got some great
Yes.
stuff, right?
Yeah.
And we're gonna dive right in.
So I
The
think.
water treatment plants is what we're gonna be talking about
Yep, and we're
today.
going to do a stepwise sort of what happens
Okay.
kind of thing.
All right.
So
What we got?
obviously, the first thing that when it leaves our house, when we go down the drain or down the toilet, is it goes into the sewer system. And so it flows through underground pipes. Like you see the manholes and stuff.
Yeah.
And it's down in there.
Okay. So you're saying from the kitchen sink, toilet, you name it, shower, it all goes down through one main
One
pipe.
main pipe.
goes into the sewer system.
Goes into the sewer system from
Okay.
there.
All right.
Yep. And so it all goes to the same spot to get collected to a water treatment plant.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
And once it's there, it's combined with or pumped via gravity fed water treatment. It undergoes physical, chemical, and biological processes to remove contaminants and pollutants.
Okay.
So obviously there's a lot of stuff inside our wastewater that we don't want to circle back to our house, right?
Right.
And so they sort of start teasing out through processing the various things that are in that water so that when it does get put back into the system, it's clean.
Right.
So the primary treatment is it's called a clarifier.
Oh, okay.
And so they put everything in a
Clarifier.
settling tank and allows the solids to settle down to the bottom.
Oh, okay. So it's a big tank.
Huge tank.
Yeah. I think sometimes it's just an open. It's
Yep.
an open you can
Sometimes
actually
it is,
see.
yeah.
And then so all the heavy metals and stuff
Sink to the bottom.
sink to the
Yeah.
bottom. Okay.
And so when I forget the length of time, I think it talks about that a little bit further on, but that's that process. It just sort of settles things out, large objects like sticks and rags and other debris. Well, I mean, it is rainwater too.
Yeah,
And
right.
so all of that has to get sifted out.
Yeah.
And then microorganisms and bacteria, as well as archaea, which is another organic,
Okay.
I think it's another bacteria
Okay.
or parasite, break down organic matter in bioreactors. So they add chemicals and stuff in it to start getting that stuff to decompose.
Okay.
Yep. And then on the tertiary treatment, additional physical and chemical processes may be applied to further remove pollutants, nitrogen and phosphorus, because nitrogen and phosphorus are a large part of our waste stream because of farmers. And plus what we put on our lawns. It's not just farmers, it's what we put on our lawns and stuff like that. All of that, of course, runs into the rainwater.
Wow. So everything that we do in our household also goes into this big pool.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. It all goes to the same source.
Okay.
Then they go in through a disinfecting thing, and sometimes that's going to be chlorine, UV light, or ozone. Now, ozone is a pretty awesome thing, but it's also toxic.
Oh.
Yeah, but in the way they're doing it, it's in an enclosed system, so it's not a toxic thing.
Okay.
So basically, ozone is not oxygen is 2 oxygen molecules connected together. Ozone is 3.
Okay.
Okay. So anyway, we won't go into the but anyway,
yeah, that science side of you kicking.
Sorry. But anyway, so then they do that, and then there's an effluent discharge. So the treated water is now called effluent.
Okay. So treated water is called
effluent.
Effluent. Okay.
And that water is released into nearby bodies of water such as rivers, lakes, and the ocean.
Okay.
Now I was doing a little reading about my particular area.
Okay.
I know you're from a different city, and
Okay.
so but in my area there was in fact a sewage release that released something like 5,000 gallons of raw sewage.
A raw sewage.
Yeah.
Why is
They
that
hit a
released?
sewage pipe. It was a construction job site.
Oh,
Yeah.
so it was a mishap.
It was a mishap. Yeah.
Oh.
So sometimes that happens. Well, what I found out that the way the people in my area handle the waters, they were immediately on site assessing the situation and realizing that there was no danger of that water coming in contact with any of our clean water, such as any rivers or lakes that were close by. So what they did was they allowed it, they cleaned up as much as they could, and then they just allowed the rest of it to seep into the earth. So, I mean, I guess that's no different than, an outhouse.
Right.
But, so what I was impressed by was how quickly they responded to the situation, how quickly they mitigated the situation,
Gotcha.
and then told this particular construction company, instead of reprimanding them, thank you for reporting this because now we know blah 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 story.
Yeah.
So I liked it that everybody was working in concert on this situation to get it mitigated.
Okay.
So that gave me a lot of confidence, I guess, is the bottom line in how the people in my area are actually handling our water.
So you would recommend to the audience to always check in with your local
Yeah, yeah.
Where'd you go? How did you?
City of Caldwell. I
No, I
went to
mean, okay, so you go to your local city water treatment
no,
or
no, just go
city.
to your city water company.
So go to your city water company and then extract any information that you need, any recent events, how's the water performing, stuff like
Yeah, yeah,
that.
because it's public
So
information.
it's public information.
Yeah,
So
so if you want to know about that, you can just, so you also can look up, not from their website, if you don't
uh,
value their whatever, then you can look at it also from the government side looking in, because they also track that information. So if
I
you
see.
just Google what your area is and what your intention is and what you're looking for, you
Right.
will reach a plethora of
Of
information.
information.
So
I think it's a good thing to check into that
I
because
do too.
you know sometimes when you work at like I used to work in a factory and they have tolerance like specs that you have to meet.
Right.
We're human beings. Oh, excuse me. Sometimes we go over a spec,
Uh-huh.
right?
Yeah.
And then we got to get approval from head to say yay or nay,
Right.
right? So I could just imagine dealing with your water system. It's the same concept.
Yeah.
There's specs they got to keep,
Quality assurance.
but sometimes it goes over. So what do? You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
So it's very important to check your city and see what is going on
Right.
with the water.
Yeah.
How's everything?
Well, it
Because
gives you
you know that
confidence that what you're drinking
right.
is good.
I think if like for example at Michigan, Flint, Michigan,
Yeah.
that area, and that's still an issue. I think if someone like there probably was red flagging them a
You
whole lot, you know,
probably. Yeah.
and but it was so gone, so you know, so much things happening.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And
it
we were talking about, well, Flint and Detroit, some of these other areas
yeah,
that are really in need of service, you
right.
know, and it's just they're mostly having to defer to bottled water for drinking, as far
Yeah.
as I understand. So
Yeah.
anyway, do be mindful of the water that you consume, obviously, and it's not going to hurt anybody's feelings to check your water, right?
Right. Yeah,
It's your right to know.
I think it's a good
So,
thing to check your water and see what is going on
yep.
with that. So absolutely.
Now, as far as the biosolids go, once that water that's been cleaned has been released back into nature, i.e., lake, streams, ocean, what
Mhm.
about the biosolids that are left? All those biosolids are now treated further to reuse as fertilizer or disposed of in landfills.
Mm.
So there was
So all you're saying the heavy stuff?
all the heavy stuff that they could not, you know, it's the
Oh,
solids,
it's
all the
okay. So
solids.
it's treated and then
Right.
added to the landfills.
Yes.
So is
Yes.
that the regular landfill of the garbage that
I would assume.
Okay.
Yeah, it
Okay.
didn't qualify, but I would assume that. But I do like the idea that they take some of this material and convert it into fertilizer. They
True.
can leave it as that though, and don't
Yeah.
use it as anything else. Okay, I'm just saying.
Right.
I was reading an article the other day that there was some. I'm trying to think of what it was. What got my attention was it said that when it was bioprocessed, it converted to cyanide after consumption,
Whoa.
and it was an ingredient that was in energy drinks, some energy drinks.
Oh.
And so that made me want to look into a little bit further. And so luckily enough, I didn't find that in anything that we consume. But you do want to pay attention to that sort of thing as
Yeah,
well.
absolutely.
I mean,
Nowadays, yeah, you definitely want to pay attention
but that
to.
was made from supposedly some of these biosolids.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Man.
And I was like, not so much on that. I got, I'm all about not wasting things.
Yeah.
And I, you know, as a scientist, even I'm
Yeah.
a former,
Right.
I'm still like, no,
Yeah.
no, I don't like that at all.
Right. Right.
So you don't want to be eating cyanide, and you don't want to be
No,
eating
you don't.
that.
No, you don't.
So read your ingredients
On everything, because
On
now
everything.
you know everything's getting cloned and all that stuff going on.
Oh my
you
gosh,
know?
they can grow an ear. I mean, they can grow things in vivo now.
What's
Not
vegan?
in vivo, in vitro.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
in vivo would be grown inside like a baby. In vitro's in a petri dish or
Oh,
something.
okay.
So in vitro.
Wow. They're growing a whole lot
I
of
love
stuff.
it. I love it, but it's kind of crazy.
Well, I think you love the process of it.
Well, what I
But
like is like it's an example. There was a person that lost an ear in an accident, either via fire or something like that.
uh-huh.
They grew him another ear on the back of a mouse.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
All right.
Science. I love
Science. Science.
it.
Science.
So there was one topic in particular that we kind of had pretty good concern over,
Yeah.
and that was so while the plant waste or the wastewater plants are able to extract a lot of things that are like heavy metals and things like that.
Uh-huh.
What about medications and hormones and stuff like that? What did you find out about that?
Well, the thing is, let me put my trusty glasses on.
Yeah.
So the thing about medication, and that's what we caution you, not some things you don't need to put down the sink, and it just needs to go in the trash can.
Yeah.
You
Like
know.
turn them in if it's medicine, turn it into they have pickup sites for that.
Oh, they got pickup
Or your
sites.
doctor's
Yeah.
office.
So, oh yeah, just imagine all the people that use the drugs and stuff out on the streets and stuff, right? All that's getting, some is getting thrown in the water, some is on the ground, some is laid. So
Yeah.
all that needs to be cleaned up,
Yeah.
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 and protect yourself while cleaning that up,
Yeah.
So I'm pretty sure each town, each city has that. But yeah, that is a
So
touchy situation.
you don't want to be putting your medicines down the drain.
Right, absolutely. So, all right, so we got some notes here. And we're talking, one of the things that came up was dealing with the hormone that goes back into the water,
Yeah.
and which there's a certain percentage of that. I think someone was telling us like 30% of all that is still in the water.
30%.
30%. So, yeah. It's a lot of all this stuff we throw in the water, and we don't think about it. All that stuff is still in the water. All right. So what are you gonna say?
Well, this one is telling me typically in parts per trillion per liter.
Okay.
That's that 30.
What?
Wait,
What?
maybe. Yeah.
Maybe. Okay. Maybe I misinterpret what he was telling me, but a lot of that stuff is still in the water.
Wow.
Yeah.
Really? That's crazy.
So that's dealing with what was you saying? The hormone stuff, estrogen,
Antibiotics. Yeah.
right? All that stuff we dump in the water is still in the water.
Well,
the water treatment plant can't get rid of that.
it's what from what I read, it's very, very hard for them to because I worked in an organic lab for a while, organic chemistry, and what that means, you're trying to extract things from different things, right? And
right.
so one thing that I can actually refer to is that anything like that, it's a process to extract one item from another.
Right.
It's not like you can just, I'll just run it through this filtration system and that'll do the trick.
Right.
Not necessarily. It might, it's a process. It can take days,
Yeah.
hours to days.
Right.
And so when it comes to these sorts of things, hormones, we're talking about something that is very tiny in comparison to other things that they might find in the water.
Right.
Plus, they're less likely to react, such as chlorine and other things that have charges on them, a negative or positive charge that as they're going through these filtration systems, they can grab on because of that charge.
True.
A hormone or an anti-inflammatory drug or something like that is not going to have the same principle associated with it. So it's going to be more challenging to extract out of any medium. And so it's going to have to be very, very specific. And it's either going to be extracted chemically or via filter.
Right.
Either one of these things is going to be a lengthy process because of the type of molecule that we're talking about.
So, right. So today's subject is about water treatment plant, right? And water treatment plants are facilities designed to purify water to make it safe for human consumption and use. The main purpose of a water treatment plant include removing contaminants, which you talked about earlier,
Mm-hmm.
ensuring safety, improving the taste, the odor, appearance, right? Maintaining public health, providing safe drinking water.
Mm-hmm.
So the purpose of the water treatment plant is a very crucial thing in each city
Right.
in every state,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So, but there are some things that it cannot extract, you know. So
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot going on there. And one of our subject was talking about is like sometimes um, the issue talk came up about man boobs,
Yeah.
right? Man boobs,
It
you know, it's called
happens.
man
Yep.
boobs.
It happens.
So that man boobs is what's this word here? Look at this.
I think I have my notes here.
It's genocosmic.
All right.
That's a big word, and I get my partner on that one.
Okay. Gynecomastia.
Okay, so it's enlargement of a breast tissue in males.
Yeah.
This is a result from several factors, including hormonal
Hormonal.
hormonal imbalance.
Yeah.
An imbalance between estrogen and testosterone levels can lead to breast tissue growth.
Yeah.
This is common during also this is something that could occur through a lifetime, but like when we talk about water and when you know when it's released into the water,
Mm-hmm.
this is what we're drinking and this is what affects guys.
Right.
Right?
I wonder what the effect is for the testosterone that gets into the water for us ladies.
So right. And so medications, certain medications such as anti-drugs, anabolic steroids, some antidepressants, and drugs of heart condition can cause that word. What's that word again? Gynecoma.
Oh my God.
Enlargement of tissue.
Right.
Guys.
I'm gonna have to get on your page because I have that printed
out. Medical conditions affects the thyroid, kidneys, and liver as well, that produce hormones.
Yep.
Can lead to breast tissue growth. So I'm sorry, guys. I'm reading from my tablet here, and so there's a lot going on.
Yeah.
And also substance use, alcohol, marijuana, and some recreational drugs can contribute to the development of the breast enlargement for guys.
That's interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So alcohol, marijuana, some drugs, and
obesity, excessive body fat can lead to accumulation of fatty tissue in the breast area, which may mimic the appearance of
gynecomastia.
Yeah. Say that word again.
Gynecomastia.
All right. So sometimes you see guys that has the extra tissue. Could it be that what environment or what location they're at and the drinking of the water is passed down into the water system?
Yep.
Is causing this problem?
Well, and you know, just as a rule, we should know and understand that when we carry excess fat, that's where all the bad stuff goes. It'll be stored.
It'll be stored.
That's just the way it works.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
on a cellular
level.
Hey, give me that was a science. But she the scientist, but I picked that one up real good.
We were talking yesterday, and I said, so we just need people to understand that. You know, physically you may not see a change, but it's on a cellular level that we're talking about.
Yeah, cellular level.
Yeah.
Right. So things you can't see is what's going on in the back of the background. Exactly. Yeah. All right, you proud of me?
I'm so proud of
you. All right. So so it's important to know what your public sewer, your system, city, what is going on with the water, right?
Yep.
That's very important,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, what you got? What
No,
else you
I'm
got?
gonna flip through and see what we missed,
Okay,
but the medicine in water is probably one of my biggest concerns of all, because like antibiotics in particular. Because guys, what we got to understand is that like when you take your antibiotics and the doctor says, I want you to take these for the next, 10 days, 2 weeks,
right,
whatever, 2 day, 3 day, whatever.
yeah,
And then you do your regimen. Okay, so let's say after 6 days, oh, I feel better. I'm not going to finish taking them.
yeah,
And so, well, there's two things that's happening here. You've caused a chain reaction in your body. That bacteria is saying, oh, I can still live here. It's not as threatening.
right,
I'm just going to evolve a little bit. So what you're doing is you're actually, when you don't do the entire treatment,
okay.
you are actually allowing that bacteria to change and evolve to be resistant to
Um,
that antibiotic.
you know what? I'm guilty of that.
Ugh.
I am. Because every time they give me medicine, either I don't like the feel of it or the taste of it, and I'm like, I'm not finished all this. So you're telling me now you need to complete the process because they done the research to
Yep.
say you need 10 pills to kill this
Yeah,
situation.
yeah.
And
So if
yeah,
you
okay,
finish your medication as prescribed, it's
yeah,
less likely you're going to have any leftovers to dispose of. So there's that.
okay,
And then also you've actually killed the bug so that
right.
it won't mutate. And so if you get that bug again, you'll be able to battle it with the same antibiotic
And
and it'll be
that's
successful.
viruses, right?
Nope, viruses cannot be treated.
Okay, what was it?
Bacterial.
Bacteria. Okay,
Yep,
yeah, that's right.
yep, yep,
Bacteria.
yep.
So yeah. Okay.
So have you ever seen a virus, by the way?
No.
Oh my gosh, it's the wickedest looking thing ever. It
You're
looks like
through
something out
them.
of a sci-fi movie.
So when you look through the microscope, oh, okay.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I leave that to you, scientists.
Bacteria, they're just like critters, but a virus is wicked
It's
looking.
wicked.
Yeah.
Wow.
Anyway,
Anyway,
so
but I mean, we see what the viruses do. What 2 or 3 years ago with the COVID stuff. So
yeah,
the
yeah,
virus is
yeah, it's
very
hard. You
bad.
can't. They're very
And you
hard to
know
kill.
what? Also, I discovered I was listening to a program back when we had the COVID issue.
Hmm.
They could always tell where the what's that word? Where majority of that COVID people are at based off the water
What?
because it gets in the water. It gets in the water, and once again, the treatment plant can't some at times cannot get rid of that.
Right?
So it cycles.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. So the government can know what is going on based off of how their health is.
Yeah.
And our health at that time was tremendous dealing with the COVID.
Yeah.
And they could tell where is a outbreak of that COVID at based off where the water is coming
Isn't
from.
that interesting? And I
Yeah.
love that. I love
Yeah, yeah.
that.
So
So when I was in school, the epidemiology, I think is what it was called,
uh-huh.
and that's like learning the starting point of a disease. And so back in the day when we had the Black Plague and all
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
they would have to do it manually, like visiting household to household and stuff like that by interviewing and actually physically examining people. The idea that you can look at a population just via their water supply,
Yeah.
that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
That's
and
pretty
that's
cool.
that they know what is going on based off what's the water doing.
Yeah. So, but then
Yeah,
again, as long as we're not getting that stuff back in our water. Now, we and I talked about that, like, was it yesterday or day before? And I said, yeah, but treating the water is super expensive. Like, if you're not treating it, but I mean, if you want to test the water, it's
yeah,
super expensive to test. And a lot of our water facilities are not geared for
right,
that kind of processing.
right,
And that's where the problem lies.
right. And, some homeowners have a purification system
Mm-hmm.
built in their homes. So if you're open to that, then it's just a matter for that particular company to come out and test your water.
Yeah.
But to get more of a micron, it's more of a commercial based
Mhm.
company to come out
Yeah.
and test the water.
Yeah.
So it's two different platforms where people could see what's going on in their water.
Yeah, I mean, I
And
go by taste, like
taste,
taste
yeah,
weird.
yeah.
Like like we have really
Well,
hard water here.
yeah, taste is one thing, but when you could actually see something like Detroit, Michigan, that's a whole nother issue. I mean, you got a clear glass on, and you could just see stuff.
Yeah,
Man, that's deep.
that's not right.
No, that's
That's
not
not
right.
right at all.
So they're allowing, so yeah, that's not good at all.
Quick, say hello to Christian. Am I reading that right?
Kristen, yeah.
Christian, and then we have Jessica on
Hi
board this
guys.
morning. Really
Hey,
appreciate you
hey,
guys
yeah,
tuning in.
appreciate
If
you
you
guys.
have questions, please drop a line or comments.
Yeah,
Please drop us a note in the comment section.
yeah,
Thanks for
yeah.
tuning in. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
So anyway, you can contact, like we said earlier, if you have concerns about your water, you can contact your local water treatment company
Yeah,
and see what their records show. Because,
yeah,
like I said, all of that is public information, so you can look into it. Um, and you can also ask for a quality report.
yeah. Absolutely. Definitely recommend going to your local city or your water treatment plant and ask for a quality report.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure they email it or give it to you right then and there.
Yeah, I don't think you have to
But
physically go there.
yeah,
You
you just call
request
them
it.
up and say, "Hey, John Doe from West Side, I need that connect.
I want to see what's happening.
What is going on with the water? You know." So
why am I growing an extra?
right, right.
Whatever.
I mean, it's amazing that people not really pay attention and to their water. And sometimes I talk to people and they say, "Oh, I've been drinking out of faucet for 20 years, 30 years. I'm still good."
I used to drink out of a garden hose.
But you don't know what is going on the background again. You don't know what you're taking in and what is growing in your body,
Yeah.
by just doing that.
Yeah.
So it's very critical to be wise and smart about the intake of the water that you're taking.
Yeah, yeah.
You know?
Especially if you notice you don't feel right.
Right,
I mean,
absolutely. I ran across a guy yesterday and he was talking about he had to go to the doctor. And if you have health issues, the doctor's going to recommend a certain amount of different types of water that you got to drink, different from the regular tap water.
yeah.
So it's either you're going to spend money now or you're going to spend money later.
Yeah.
So it's just be wise, just like your food intake, because 80-90% of who you are is the food, is what you eat, what you're consuming. So on a physical side, it's very important to consume the right stuff in your body.
Yeah.
Would you say that?
We take a lot of stuff for granted because we've grown up over the years to feel secure and confident in
Right.
who's managing our water and our air in our local area. The property, the land, and all of that. We
Right.
take for granted, I think.
Right.
And because we've not had to look at that sort of thing
Yeah.
ourselves personally.
Right.
Because other people were.
Right.
We trusted them. Not saying that we're not insinuating that you should not trust your water company. All we're saying is just just check it and make sure
Check
that
it.
you're all right. Don't assume that it's okay.
Yeah.
Check it and make sure.
Absolutely.
So you can ask them for those reports, and they should be able to provide that for you. And if they won't, just go outside of them and reapproach via the government site, and you should be able to find that information. If not, then you might have to take it further up the ladder, but I don't think you'll have any trouble. I didn't.
Right.
And then so you can also collect a sample and send it off yourself to be analyzed to a completely third party. They don't really care one way or another what the result is. They have no bias whatsoever. So you can do that if you have concerns. If you're not satisfied with the answers that you've gotten from your water company, there's other places to go. I did not look online to see how much these water test packets or kits cost.
Right.
I'm assuming you have to collect the water and then send it off to another company to be analyzed. I doubt that it's a dipstick kind of situation that you can do at home.
Right.
But I did want to provide the names of the companies that you can write to or inquire about for testing your water.
Okay.
You ready?
Yeah.
Okay.
That'd be good.
So the first one is called Water Safe. It's one word, but with capital W and S, Water Safe. The second one is Test Assured. Also one word, capital T and A, Test Assured. Aqua Safe.
Okay.
same thing.
Hmm.
And then Eurofence, and then lastly ALS Environment. So
Okay.
these five companies are good resources for you to reach out to. They're unbiased. They only make the kits.
Right.
They're not there to influence you one way or another.
Right.
And so that might be a way to go if you do not trust your water company's report.
Yeah. I would definitely recommend getting your water
Yeah.
tested.
Or if you just simply want to know personally what's happening in
Right.
your own residence,
Right.
send off for one of these kits.
Yeah,
It
absolutely.
might cost you a few. Maybe next week, if we visit more about this, I'll try to look in to see what
The
that might
cost.
cost.
Okay.
Yeah, because it might be not cost conducive. I don't
Gotcha.
know. We'll see.
All right. So we're in half of our program. So today's program is brought to you by Impact Water. Impact Water is a pure mountain spring water.
That glare. Thank you.
You can fool
The
that.
glare, yeah.
So pure mountain spring water is from the Appalachian Mountains. This is a spring water. Comes in a 16-ounce aluminum bottle. Fantastic water, smooth and clean water. And so we just wanted to mention this to you. That has all the electrolytes, alkaline balance, phenomenal water. You can find it on impactwaterllc.com.
Yep.
All right.
Aluminum can. I love the aluminum can. Reusable.
We doing the Vanna White. Is that what we doing?
I love aluminum. No, it's really great. Great water.
Yeah.
And like you said, I mean, why buy water that's had all of that stripped out? Because we need that stuff. This has been purified, but it still
Yeah.
contains all those beautiful electrolytes that we need.
Electrolyte, all the minerals are still in that water.
Yeah,
so
naturally.
it's just a
Naturally.
beautiful water.
Right from the earth.
Yep. All right. So moving on.
Yeah.
So we talked about the water treatment plant. What do they do? How they function, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we also talk about some contaminants, right?
Mm-hmm.
Some contaminants that the water treatment plant take out, and some they can't take out.
Right.
So, absolutely.
So estrogen, testosterone, progesterone, birth control,
Right.
Antibiotics, anti-inflammatory drugs, and psychiatric medications. These
Yeah.
are found in our water.
It's in the water.
Now, maybe in small amounts, but they are in our water.
They're in the water.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, question I have is so I do have a water filtration system
Okay.
in my house, but I don't know if it gets that stuff.
Right. And, so we were supposed to have a special guest that really knows that answer. And so we have to, hopefully we could get him on next week.
Yep.
But
That'd be
yeah,
great.
so for the question is for the homeowners that do have a reverse osmosis system in their home, does that eliminate all these things you just talked about, right?
Yeah.
Testosterone, birth control, hormones, antibiotics. Right. So
The big one for me is the antibiotics is huge because
Right.
people are sick, but
yeah,
the anti-inflammatory drugs such as ibuprofen and things like that,
right.
Advil, Tylenol,
Yeah.
all that, those kinds of things I got to think are consumed maybe more than or more commonly than
Right.
an antibiotic, and those are in our water too.
Yeah.
As well as psychiatric medications such as Zoloft for
Right.
bipolar. So,
And what was the other? Zoloft. What's the other one?
The other
I
one,
heard of it. There's another one that it was more for depression.
was it Paxil?
Yeah, but
it's another depression,
So,
antidepressant.
right,
drug.
all that's getting into the water. When we urinate, all that stuff goes into the water, or we physically throw it into the toilet.
Yeah.
Wash it down the drain, something.
Yeah.
Things we don't need to be doing. I
Right.
know we have to use the restroom, but if we could control, excuse me
Just
again.
not disposing of it.
Yeah. I think that'll help on the long run if everybody be conscious about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, absolutely.
Well, and that's the body is a funny thing. I mean, it's made to operate on the same. It's going to take what it needs and discharge what it doesn't.
Right.
And so when we're doing those therapies with antibiotics and medications, it's just like our vitamins. I
Yeah.
said, if you take vitamins and your urine is like crazy yellow, you're probably taking more than you need. That's your body saying, I don't need any of that or all of that.
Right.
So think about that as well. You might be taking excessive amounts of things that you don't need. What else we
What you
got?
got? All right. Let's see here. What else we got?
So we talked about the hormones and medications and
Yeah.
substance use, such as alcohol and marijuana. All of those things too, guys. After it's been processed, into the waste stream.
Yeah. All right. What we got?
I'm looking.
Okay.
We talked about the waste treatment plants and the steps that they go through for all of that. I'm kind of curious, though, the difference between the enclosed systems and the ones that, like, I had the facility that was close to my house when I lived in Colorado. It was an open system like that, and you could see it kind of being stirred.
Yeah. So now we're talking about the water treatment
The water
place. So if
treatment,
you
yeah.
happen to go by the water treatment place, sometimes some are enclosed and sometimes is open.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And then you can see that film on top.
Yeah,
You know.
they're actually extracting that oily
Right.
layer and then the layer underneath.
Yeah.
So it's kind of interesting how they go about doing all of that, extracting there's the oil, and then they said there's a clear surface under that, and then you get more in the turbidity, and then in the solids in the bottom, and they literally extract each of those layers out to further process inside the
Right.
plant.
Absolutely. So now we talked about water treatment plant. We talk about the benefits. We talk about what they can't clean. Now we have to move on is EPA more of a governmental thing? So that's the EPA. And so, all right. So let me read this real quick
Yep.
from the laptop. Put my trusty glasses on. Yeah. So EPA, Environmental Protection Agency. In the United States, regulates water quality through a series of laws and regulation designed to ensure safe drinking water and to protect the nation's water bodies, including rivers, lakes, and coastal area. Key regulations include Clean Water Act, right, established in 1972. It aims to restore and maintain chemical and physical, biological integrates of nation's water. It regulates and discharge of pollutants into the waters, set water quality standards. So the EPA goes in and sets water standards, like, for example, what material, what substance could still, how would you give an example? Like, they can't get rid of all the contaminants, but there's like factors that they can regulate. Like if it goes over a certain amount of
the parameters.
parameters, then hey, we got to red flag that, right?
Yeah.
So that's
They'll allow a certain amount to
Yeah,
go through.
to go through.
Yeah.
So requirements, permits for discharging pollutants and set guidelines for water waste treatment plants. So the EPA require permits. Now think about that, for discharging pollutants, right?
Yeah.
So that's like your farmers, your manufacturers, right? Because remember we talked about water before a long time ago. We got 8 billion people. 1% is drinkable water. And half of that is agriculture,
Wow.
right?
Wow. Okay.
So the EPA has to regulate the farmers, the agriculture of the pollutants, talking about pesticide and the different things that runs off into the water. So it goes, when it runs off into the water, it goes to the water treatment, the rivers, the lakes, and all that. So guidelines has to be set up. But what gets me though, they got to get permits. So if you have to get permits, that means they know some stuff is getting into the water.
Yeah.
I mean, why would you have permits if you're not knowing there's going to be stuff getting into the water?
Well, they have to make sure there's not excessive amounts being
That's
introduced
true.
into the system.
So, but there is some getting into the water.
Yeah.
From discharging.
Now, I can tell you from an agricultural perspective, that was basically my research was, I was a seed biologist. And so I worked in the agricultural field and we worked a lot with Roundup.
Okay.
Everybody knows about Roundup.
Okay.
It's widely used to, keep weeds at bay
Right.
in crops and so forth. And
Uh-huh.
so farmers are trying to find plants that are resistant to Roundup, so
Yeah.
they don't have to use Roundup, but
Okay.
they do.
Okay.
But there's runoff of that into their waste stream, okay?
Okay.
So there will be Roundup that does, in fact, get into the waste stream, the water stream. But I will tell you this, and we can do a deeper dive on this, but my recollection, because I worked with the chemical name of Roundup is glyphosate. I worked with glyphosate a lot in my laboratory because I actually selected plants in vitro while they were still an embryo
Okay.
by introducing glyphosate to their nutrient system while they were growing.
Wow.
That way, by the time I produced my plants to be put in the field, I already knew which plants were going to be resistant to being sprayed with Roundup. So, that said, the farmer can actually treat the plants in a lighter dose because the plants are already hardy. Does that make
Okay.
sense?
So they're already immune.
They're
Gotcha.
already selected for being tolerant to Roundup.
Wow.
And so, now, that
Okay.
said, let's use my scenario. I
Okay.
just provided them with plants that are resistant to Roundup. They're still going to spray their field.
They're still going to spray the
They
field.
won't have to use in fact, I'll be able to say at X amount, you should be able to mitigate, okay?
Okay.
And they'll, all right, okay? So they're still going to have to spray.
Right.
But the half-life of Roundup is about 48 hours, if I recall.
Okay.
What I mean by that is the properties of Roundup that are poisonous to us have dissipated after 48 hours.
Okay.
It's fallen. Basically, you've taken a chemical and broken it down into its little tiny pieces.
Gotcha.
Okay? And so those little tiny pieces aren't the problem. It's when they're all in the same. That's when you get
molecule.
the toxicity of
Right.
glyphosate. It's the molecule itself,
Right.
not necessarily its components once it's biodigested, in other words, or broken down.
Okay. So if you prep the plants for Roundup, they still spray Roundup on the plants. Okay. So after that process, they cut the plants, right? 'Cause then that comes for consuming.
Yes. Now,
So-
the plant itself, in my case, was not the seed that it produced was.
Say that again.
So, so I worked in the oil business, actually, in agriculture. And so I worked with canola.
Okay.
And so canola produces teeny weeny little seeds. And
Okay.
we would harvest those seeds and then press out all the oil that was in those seeds. And so that's where you get canola oil, is
Okay.
from a teeny little seed, like
Okay.
gazillions of them. And so, but by the time it gets to that point, the Roundup that was maybe applied to that crop is gone.
Gone.
Not only that, but that seed
Well-
was protected inside the seed pod.
It's supposedly gone.
According to my research, it's gone.
Okay. That was good.
So,
All right.
and so
But-
I didn't have
but-
any. Go ahead.
But once they spray it, there's still a runoff.
Yes.
Okay. So
And
that's
that's the bigger picture.
that's the bigger thing.
I just wanted folks to know that just because your crop got or your produce got sprayed with Roundup while it was being grown doesn't mean it's going to be poisonous for you to eat. That
Okay.
material will biodegrade with time. By the time it hits your table, it's gone. Now, but it will get in the water
Okay.
that the farmer is actually.
So you're using vicious cycle.
It is a vicious cycle.
It's a vicious cycle.
So, and those components will break down into its other parts and pieces, and some of which,
right.
might not be the best for us
Right.
to consume.
All right. So Clean Water Act was established in 1972. Safe Drinking Act is established in 1974. It forces and ensure the safety of public drinking water supply. EPA sets standards for drinking water quality, oversees states, localities, the water suppliers who implement those standards. The National Primary Drinking Water Regulation, NPDWR with an S, are a legally enforceable standard that apply to the public water system. All right. National Pollutant Discharge Elimination System, part of the Clean Water Act. This program controls water pollution by regulating point source that discharge pollutants into the water of the United States. Permits are required of discharge of pollutants from point source into navigable waters.
Okay.
Okay. So I also heard a story where someone was saying, like, I'm throwing this word, but this is not 100% true. If it's continuing to happen, there are still dumping waters, chemicals into the ocean.
Yeah.
That is, and they were saying that was in Florida, the outskirts of Florida.
Now,
So
they weren't allowed to do that, though, right?
they're
That was.
not right. So that's where these regulation kicks in. They're not allowed doing that, but
They
some
do.
manufacturing, something, they're still dumping water
Mm-hmm.
into the water
Yeah.
ocean,
Yep.
which is not good. And that's
I mean, think about the coral reef.
yeah,
Coral reef has taken a substantial hit because of not only because of climate change, but also because of what we're adding into the ocean.
right,
So when we talked last week, we talked about, or not last week, a while back, we talked about nanoparticles of plastic.
right.
We've got nanoparticles of medications and all these things as well, but nanoparticles of plastic are also getting into the ocean.
They're getting
And
in the
so
ocean.
all of these things are affecting our aquatic life and the plant material that is growing in and around. And,
Right.
it's just, we just simply have to be more aware and, get
Right.
our,
Right.
if we see that there's somebody's not acting right as far as how they're handling things, and we
Right.
need to tell them that. We need to let them be aware of it and make sure they know and hear our voices, because it's going to be
Absolutely.
up to us to make change.
Absolutely.
Nobody's going to do anything if you don't tell on them.
Right.
If
Well,
somebody-
in this case, you got to be a little rat. You got to tell them.
You gotta rat 'em out.
You got to rat
Yeah,
them
you
out,
don't have to
because
tell everybody.
water is a very crucial, important thing.
But if I see somebody doing something like that, I'm telling on you.
Yeah.
I mean
So
it.
yeah, you definitely have to talk about it.
Yeah.
So other things they have here is total maximum daily TMDL, a calculation of maximum amount of pollutant that a water body can receive and still meet water quality standard. States are required to identify waters that do not meet water quality standard and develop TMDL for those water.
Mhm.
So this goes back to Flint.
Yeah.
Flint knew about this condition but did not report it. And that's what is going on there. So now it's a huge problem.
Yeah.
When you start noticing things are going out of the specs that's required by the EPA from each state, each city,
Yeah.
this is what the results of it. Prime result from Flint. Absolutely.
Yeah. And so while we aren't in that situation as far as we know, just because you don't see it doesn't mean it's not there.
Right.
So we're not trying to put fear in your hearts, okay? We're just asking you to be cognizant and aware of it's really our main message is what's happening to me, what's happening to my body. We want you guys to be healthy. Consequently, we have to pay attention to this kind of stuff, because this will affect our health over time.
Oh, it's
If not me and you, maybe our children, our grandchildren, and so forth.
grandchildren, greats,
Stop
all
doing
that.
so. Yeah.
Yeah. So here's another thing. Underground injection control regulates the injection of fluids underground to prevent contamination of drinking water sources. Ensure that underground injection practices do not endanger drinking water sources. So that's another thing.
Yeah, because our water tables are being affected as well.
Waters of the United States, WOTUS, defines the scope of waters protected under the Clean Water Act. Definition has been subjected to change and legal change, impacting the extent of water bodies covered by the EPA regulation.
Mm-hmm.
So the EPA is very important to regulate the water, what is going on, the contaminants
We're counting
in the water.
on them. Yep, we actually have to count on them.
Yeah. So So now from the EPA, we also go into the T factor. All right. The T factor is
Turbidity.
turbidity factor. So it's the amount of, once again, it goes back to the amount of pollutants that is allowed in the water. So we're pushing out of time again.
Uh-oh.
So
Well, it's kind of like when we were talking about this yesterday, and you'd say a glass of water, they get a glass out of the tap. Mine's clear, I mean,
right,
it generally has a little something in it
yeah,
because it's air,
yeah,
but once it settles, it's clear. Those poor souls in Flint, and I'm sure there's other areas, but that one's the one that's mostly on our radar in
right,
Detroit. They get water out of the tap, and it's yellow or brown.
yeah,
And there's a lot of flocculants in that
yeah,
water that doesn't belong. And it just makes me crazy to think about.
yeah,
We have people in the United States that are suffering like that. It just really bothers me.
yeah. It's troubling, and it's a lot of it don't get media attention. But I think if you do some really digging, you see different states have different pockets
Yeah,
of issues
yeah,
going on with their
yeah,
water,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Not just Flint. It's all over,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
and it's a global thing. Maybe we could go into like sometimes the second or third world countries that don't have limitation to water
Yeah,
and what they have to go through dealing with all the not pesticide, but the more not sanitized.
right,
So
right,
what's the
right.
other
Like
word?
they've got the microbes and viruses and things like
Viruses,
that
all
get in the
that's in the
water.
water that
Heavy
people,
metals.
heavy metal that people still have to drink from that. So that's
Mm-hmm.
a whole nother talk on that.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
all
because one
right.
thing that I was really kind of surprised to find out about is that certain viruses and protozoa actually do get into our water on occasion. And I was shocked at that. I really was.
Yeah.
Because those are not tiny.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't see them with the naked eye, but if you can see them at like 1050x on your microscope, that's a pretty good sized little
Good.
critter.
Yeah.
And the idea that something like that could get, not a
Yeah.
virus, those are teeny weeny inky dinky, but a protozoa or bacteria are
Yeah.
not so teeny weeny inky
Yeah,
dinky.
you can see that.
And so it's kind of like, how in the world is that
Yeah.
getting into our water?
Yeah.
So is it the chemical treatment, the filtration system, or all of the above?
Yeah. So we're winding down here. We do a real quick recap. Today was talking about water treatment and how the water treatment purpose and how it's supposed to be, right? What it clean and what it can't clean,
Right,
right?
right.
And what we could do and what we should be doing, right?
As consumers
Yeah.
and just
So
be health minded.
we're gonna have to do a part 2 of this.
Probably, yep.
Yeah, we'll do part 2. We'll go into the T factor and then move from there. So our next episode, we're gonna finish out part 2 with the water treatment plant, and then we're gonna move into, we want to talk about vitamins, right?
Yes.
So that's gonna be our next start the program up with.
And we wanted to do that, and you guys let us know what your thoughts are on that. Thanks for joining, you guys. Really appreciate you so much. Because I need to shop for new vitamins.
Yeah.
I frankly don't know.
You're going to get wind up. Let's
I know.
Let's hold that for the
All right.
next show.
Okay.
All right. So, and also to recap, if you guys, our last previous 2 shows was talking about love. So go back to our YouTube channel. It's on our Impact Water LLC 5353 and and listen to that program when we talk about love. Those are the last 2 episodes, last 2 weeks, a week ago, about love. This week about water treatment. And once again, our program is brought to you by Impact Water. Pure Mountain Spring Water is available on impactwaterllc.com.
Yep.
All right.
Great water. You
And
guys.
then also to be like us, if you want to be like us, you could have your very own
Chris and Beck Show cup.
Yep. Coffee cups available online, impactwaterllc.com.
And we'll sign them for you.
And we'll sign every single cup that goes out, and we'll put a number on there.
Yep.
Who's going to be the third person that receive it. And also, things are expensive. There's shipping costs. So there's a shipping cost. I think it's about $10, $15 shipping costs on there. And that's just to ship it to you throughout the United States, right?
Yeah.
So unfortunately, shipping costs is just going up. I remember we were shipping out
Crazy.
some water. It's just expensive.
Yeah.
It's very expensive. It costs more than the box itself.
I was just gonna say I was gonna send some things to my nieces and nephews, but the small package was gonna cost me like $40 to ship. The contents were less than $15.
Yeah. So shipping costs is very expensive. Cost is going up. So, but yeah, definitely, guys, get your own Chris and Beck cup.
Yep.
You never know where Chris and Beck gonna end up on whatever TV syndicate.
Ride the wave.
You never know. So to be a part of an early stage is a great thing.
Yeah, ride that water wave with us.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So once again, thank you guys for joining in. Look for us next Tuesday at 10 o'clock where we will finish up wrapping about water treatment plant and we do some research. And if you have any questions, make comments. Definitely share this with your loved ones that we continue to grow.
And if you have things that you want us to do a deep dive on, let us know, because if it's important to you, it's important to us. And
that's our little tagline. I like that.
So we definitely want to keep it current and lively and things that you find important. So Deborah, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Appreciate you so much.
Thank you guys.
Yeah.
All right. Next Tuesday at 10 o'clock. See you guys.
Bye. Bye.